Now, what was you saying to say?
When?
What's up? I'm Alicia.
I'm Jamie.
And we are the
Shootas.
Shooters.
Call him Jimmy John's got them shooters don't deliver.
Yeah.
Welcome back, friends.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so we hope y'all been having a good time. Just walking through the Kendrick Drake beef and all the things related to the culture weaved within it.
Topic number 1 for today. We talked about it a little bit in our previous episodes, but we didn't really get into it. Don't let a white comedian talk about no black woman.
That's law. Period. I'm already hyped.
We want to talk about it. It's a little old now, but I think just for the sake of having things forever and consistently broken.
Let me break it down so it can forever and consistently be broke.
Okay.
Y'all just have to know our stance on certain issues. So, Shooter and I just quoted Kendrick Lamar. That was his statement on the song Whacked Out Murals. And he did not call out a specific comedian, but we do know that Andrew Schultz has made a comment about black women before in a joking manner. So, Kendrick made the comment. There are several white comedians in the world. A couple took offense to it, one of those being Andrew Schultz. Let's watch the clip.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about shit all the fucking time. That's why they gotta shave their hair. They grow a beard because there's more cushion when they get slapped the fuck out of it.
When the song Whacked Out Murals dropped, when GNX dropped and the world listened to Whacked Out Murals, this is pretty much the clip that had the internet saying that Kendrick called out Andrew Schultz. Kendrick never said, "I'm talking to you, Andrew Schultz." The internet said, "Andrew Schultz, he's talking to you."
I've never seen the video.
Oh. So, thoughts?
Okay, I have so many problems with this. Number one, I just want to say thank you, Kendrick, for speaking the freak up.
These black women appreciate you.
These black women are very grateful. I truly don't. It's so many layers to it. Number one, it's 2 black men sitting on this show with this white man.
3.
Listening.
3, because he's normally he's a part of the show.
Oh,
these are guests.
All I got ringing in my head is protect black women, protect black women, protect black women. Who does Andrew Schultz think that he is, that he can determine that black women apparently stress men out so much so that they have to cut their hair? He alluded to the fact that black men, or white men rather, are losing their hair dealing with black women.
Right, so the 2 guys were talking about the black women effect, which we've talked about this before, kind of both ways. We've talked about when interracial relationships happen, somebody is given something.
Somebody acculturates more or less.
Yeah, so they were talking about the black women effect. When a black woman dates a black man, and then all of a sudden he's wearing swaggy clothes and he got a fade type stuff.
He dripped out.
White person version of a fade. And his joke was they don't be cutting it to be swaggy, they be cutting it because they stressed.
Mind you, why the freak do you come up with that? Like, that junk ain't funny.
It's not funny. And he said he's a comedian. It's not funny.
Passing
I didn't laugh.
insults are, it's not, and then they sitting on there just kikiing talking about that's so funny. It's not funny.
Right.
There's no humor in it. You're low key posing as a bully, and you're judging an entire body of people, i.e. black women, in front of black men or melanated skinned men, and everybody just okay with that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It didn't give that Andrew Schultz has dated a black woman. It didn't give that at all. And not only that, like, you didn't date every black woman in the world that ever existed. I truly hate statements that lump people together. I truly hate the way that people, and not even just white people, but this white man with some kind of an influence, and people period, who decide or have decided that they're going to put out into society, into culture, in a sense that black women are hard to get along with. Black women are hard to love. That junk is toxic. It low-key feels evil to me. It feels divisive to me. And watch your mouth. Like, and who gonna be the one to tell this fool to watch his mouth? Kendrick. So again, these black women say, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Not as happy.
All I'm I'm saying is, there's so much there. And again, the whole purpose as to why we even felt really compelled to start this podcast is because so many people allow other people's opinions to create the basis on which they think. So this man with his millions of followers has decided that he's going to joke on black women in such a way to make it seem like all black women are problematic in relationships, that they would quote unquote stress somebody out, be a problem within their relationship. It's an issue, and you teaching that to somebody. You teaching that to somebody who may or may not go and decide to make a decision for themselves, or who will claim what you have said and let it be a part of the law that they done put in their brain. I have a problem with that. Shut up. Just be quiet. Don't speak for us. Don't speak on us, and don't speak for us. Thank you. Good night. And this was my feelings around the Drake making references around slavery and making that like something to kiki at. It's never funny when we talk about the Holocaust.
No, it's not funny at all. A comedian saying that on stage would not make anyone laugh.
You're canceled on sight. It's never funny. We even had this conversation when we was in college. Remember when Ebola was like prevalent and like taking people out? Everybody want to kiki about Ebola. Oh, you got that Ebola, kiki, ha ha ha. But nobody makes them jokes about cancer. That junk don't be funny to Americans. It don't be funny to people. It's all right to laugh about Ebola because it quote unquote originated in Africa. It's okay to talk about slavery as if it wasn't detrimental and traumatizing. But how dare you talk about the Holocaust? This fool need to watch his mouth. And to talk about the actual shooters, me in particular, my grandmother is alive and well. She lived and saw integration when she was, 17? She was in high school when schools integrated.
My father and his brothers lived in this city that I live in now. My dad is one of the directors of the Boys and Girls Clubs of this city today. But how he became a member of the Boys and Girls Club, it was an all-white organization. Him and his brothers walked inside and asked, how do you join this? Those white people were looking at them crazy. But ultimately, they was like, okay. And they gave them membership cards. My father and his brothers single-handedly integrated the Boys and Girls Clubs of South Georgia.
But it started with them breaking into the pool.
It started with them teaching themselves how to swim at the Boys and Girls Club, sneaking into the pool, all kind of stuff. And that's my dad. That's her grandparents.
My daddy's parents, my paternal grandparents, they're 10 years older than my maternal grandparents, so they lived through some seasons as well. But my great-grandfather on that side was the first black man in Lawrence County to own a car. I read the article about it, and they calling him all kinds of N-words, talking about how he doing quote-unquote good for himself to be a black man. That ain't too far away, bro. And then we're gonna sit up and kiki on stage with somebody who's talking about black women. And he's very much giving, I'm a white man and I'm entitled and I get to say whatever I want to say. He would never joke on Jewish people like that.
Shooter just made the best point ever. Why is it our heritage that gets to always be funny? Why does Drake get to say twice and we don't say something about slaves? It's crazy that just brought me back to Drake, but I mean, shoot, maybe Andrew Schultz and Drake are cousins. I'm just kidding. Don't sue me, Drake. I don't have money to squabble legally. Long and the short of that part.
Never forget that you fund people. You are a consumer. You are a person who helps folks get the kind of paper that Drake has.
And be more exclusive. But yeah, he says that particular joke is the reason why Kendrick fans or listeners of the song said, hey, did you listen to this? I think Kendrick might be talking about you. Andrew Schultz didn't respond for a few days. When he did respond, first on his own podcast, the same podcast that he made the joke, he said this.
Like, first of all, Kendrick's people and the gang affiliate, everybody, his security, they will kill me. They will destroy me. But just Kendrick, I would make love to him. There's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing he can physically do to stop that. Besides put his legs in the air and choose a position. Maybe I'll let him choose a position. Like, what? This way. Let me suck it up. Put your legs up in the air, sea walk in the sky, and make a little thigh pussy for your boy. That's not gay.
That was his initial response, the first thing that he ever said publicly. He also has a podcast with Charlamagne the God, and he spoke about it there.
So he opened the song with Schultz? The first song of the album got Schultz. This is crazy. Yes. I didn't know. I didn't know I got it like that. Shout out to my boy Kenny.
Didn't say your name.
Shout out to my boy Kung Fu Kenny.
I don't think he was talking about you.
He better not be.
And as much as Charlamagne say he loved Kendrick, this is the point where you at least say one thing for the culture, my guy. But you don't.
And I wanted to just put him on my lap, and I just wanted to feed him a bottle.
Stop playing.
Now, not his people, gang affiliates, all that. They can fuck me up. I'm not a tough guy. But just me and Kendrick in a room together, just having a discussion.
The 20-degree black belt show.
I know.
And let's also, just for the sake of forever and consistently breaking stuff, even the joke about the black woman, it just wasn't funny. Then also the graping Kendrick stuff, it wasn't funny at its core. Like, it wasn't a good joke.
It's not a good joke.
This is not a good joke.
It's not funny. And again, same principle. If you talked about that with any other person, any woman, any other race of person, it's not funny. It shouldn't be funny. I hope y'all ain't home laughing about graping.
I hope
Because
not. It's just not
my
funny.
stomach just turned. There's nothing cute about a white man saying that he would take advantage of another person.
I have not ever watched something from Andrew Schultz. You don't make me laugh. Like, you're not funny.
And ain't nobody on this platform say, so grape is funny. That's funny.
And
That's not a good joke. And I ain't coming for nobody. I'm just saying.
I'm not trying to come for them.
Nobody said that.
I think it's a mix of them trying to respect their OG, Charlamagne,
and hold it together
and keep
in
their
this
job.
Hold it together.
But
in this space.
she did say her little, don't act like y'all don't know why people saying it's Andrew. I felt like that was her trying to step out there a little bit. But for the
Look
most
at her
part,
face right here.
For the most part, she don't really
She's
say
not happy.
nothing. Yeah.
She's not happy.
Awkward laugh. You can smell them a mile away.
The podcast has a purpose. And this ain't even necessarily about her. I'm sure this particular person, though, low-key, I feel like I'm defending my friend here. I'm sure she's
I like her a lot. I follow her on
things
Instagram.
to unfold or whatever to serve the purpose of the podcast, have the conversation, address it or whatever. But she giving them looks like we talked about episode 1 that we get that other people don't really get. That's kind of saying he got me messed up.
Correct.
He got us messed up, friend. He do.
The fact that he didn't name Schultz, but everybody assumed it was Schultz, is for 2 reasons. Do you ever make jokes about black women?
That's the part why I was finna be done with Charlamagne, because you know he do.
I make jokes about black women, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard them.
I can see why you haven't heard him, because I usually do on this podcast called Brilliant Idiots once a week for the last 10 years. I've been doing it on this podcast for the last 10 years to a little girl over there named Taylor Made It.
Andrew Schultz just little girl her. Okay.
And Charlamagne, in this moment, failed to protect the 2 black women that are in his presence at that time that he swear he loved. I'm just saying. He say he never heard him make a joke, and he say, oh, I've only made it on this podcast for the last 10 years.
He tried to hold Charlamagne with that, too.
He did, and he successfully did it, because what did Charlamagne say back?
He laughed.
He just told you I've been making jokes about black women on Brilliant Idiots, which is their podcast together, for the last 10 years.
And you ain't gonna do nothing.
And all Charlamagne gonna do is keep...
That's what he was saying, and what you gonna do about it. This is one of the things that All Things Lit we hope to accomplish. Asking people within the culture, when we gonna start letting folks sit with us? Because it could have so easily been, hey, you don't get to say that. It probably would have changed the entire feel in that room if every black person in that room, and I've counted 4, would have been like, hey, watch your mouth. And again, this is not an attack against the black people in the room. Honestly, pissed off with Andrew Schultz for thinking that he can, but here is the reason why a lot of white people think that they can. Because we don't be saying nothing.
What do we do about it in their face?
Because we don't mute people whenever we need to mute people. Because we key as if folks ain't calling us out. We'll hold it down. Absolutely. Why Andrew Schultz is a problem in his response to Kendrick Lamar. Folks being too entitled to apologize. Talking about taking advantage of another person, man, black man. That junk ain't funny. You messed it up. I know I wasn't the only person in the world that felt some type of way. I absolutely do still. And I ain't heard an apology yet.
Several people had opinions about Andrew Schultz's response to Kendrick. D.L. Hughley was one, and I will say he's one person who a lot of the things he said in the last 15 years I don't agree with, but I do agree with his sentiments on this situation. Another person, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, he posted on Twitter, someone who posted the clip, he just put weird person as the, I'm going to put the tweet here. And so Andrew Schultz's response to Ice Cube's song was to Google No Vaseline by Ice Cube. If you know the song No Vaseline, you know that this song was a diss track to NWA, another great rap beef. In that song, Ice Cube makes mention of definitely not saying that he's going to actually, literally, physically grape someone. He's actually not saying he's going to do anything to anybody. He was making a metaphor saying that NWA was getting played by the manager.
Screwed.
We've all watched Straight Outta Compton, and we know Ice Cube left the group and why, right?
Jerry.
So the song was essentially talking about that.
He's not giving a metaphor for sexual assault.
No.
He's trying to bring light to the fact that y'all are getting treated poorly here. You're getting played here.
Not the same thing as Andrew Schultz saying, I will make love to Kendrick Lamar in a jail cell and he can't do anything. He gave us a demonstration of what Kendrick Lamar can do.
And this is where you know he's drawing a very distinct line that he's talking about graping. He has to decide whether or not it's consensual. Because I'm doing it regardless.
So he can figure out if he wants to enjoy it or not. O'Shea's response to that was a metaphor about getting freaked business-wise by your manager is not the same, homie. He ain't call you a B word. He ain't say F you. Didn't even say your name. And your response was buck breaking. That was just crazy.
Buck breaking historically refers to a brutal practice that occurred during the era of slavery in the United States. It involved the forced sexual violation of enslaved African men with the intention of exerting power, dominance, and control over them. The term buck was often used as a derogatory slang term for a male slave. The practice was a form of sexual and psychological violence aimed at dehumanizing and subjugating enslaved individuals. It was intended to break the spirit and resistance of enslaved men by subjecting them to humiliating and degrading experiences. It's important to recognize the historical context of the term and acknowledge the severe human rights abuses that occurred during slavery. Discussions about these historical practices should be approached with sensitivity, yes, and an understanding of the deep trauma associated with such acts of violence. In contemporary context, the term may also be used metaphorically or in discussions related to historical trauma and its impact on communities.
O'Shea he tweeted that pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm.
His father, using a metaphor, is not the same as you quite literally saying what you would do to him, which...
To exert power over him.
To exert power over him, because
dominance.
That's absolutely what you're saying. He's 5'6", he's 5'7", I'm this tall, and off of those physics alone, I can do this to him. So I can continue to say what I want to say, and he can't do anything about it except take what I have to give him.
And we literally think we're not having conversations about slavery anymore. We're not having conversations about the relevance of it, about how it's still very much a conversation around racism and the effects of slavery in this present day.
And to get into the timeline of that just a little bit, he says the joke with the two black men. Fast forward a lot of time. Kendrick makes a song. Mm-hmm. He makes a song that does not mention Andrew Schultz at all, but he makes one blanket statement. Don't let a white comedian talk about a black woman. That's law. The internet says Andrew Schultz, he's talking about you. Mm-hmm. Andrew Schultz gets on his Flagrant podcast and says that he would sexually assault Kendrick because he's short and he's tall. A few days later, he doubles down on those sentiments.
Well, O'Shea Jackson.
With
O'Shea Jackson Jr.
With Charlamagne. All of that happened. And Ice Cube's son is just the one we brought up. But he responded to several people. His response to D.L. Hughley.
And I'm going to just say it's on my mind. Whenever I do like my cultural sensitivity trainings and classes and stuff as I'm in a school to be a counselor, we learn quite a bit about other cultures. And I think that what kind of like blows my mind in a way about people who are like Jamaican American or even who are English. There are some of the testimonies of people that I've heard throughout my program where their relatives survived the Jim Crow days and really walked into a war they didn't really get but it affected them just the same because they were melanated. Even though you from Jamaica or even though you from wherever and you decided to migrate or come to America at this particular time, that struggle, it applied to you just because of the skin color, not because of where you from. It's because you were dark skinned. And when I think about that in relation to these people sitting on this stage and kikiing about this man who was discussing black women, there are pains that apply to all of us, that should apply to all of us, because the struggle applied to everybody who was over here, who was dark, who was over here, and who was what they call black. You don't really get a pass because you ain't from here if you melanated. You don't get a pass. You shouldn't let that junk slide either, because if it was your sister, your mother, in a certain time period, and honestly today, they're still talking about your sister and your mama, even though you from England, even though you from Jamaica. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Never seen America but 24. You could have been in America 24 hours. It didn't matter. It applied to you. The struggle applied to you because folks was literally lumping us together because we were darker.
So D.L. Hughley said, FOH, F out of here. This is the part where privilege enters the chat. Typical white privilege response. You don't get to be the aggressor and the victim. Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. I can't find Andrew Schultz's response to it. I just remember it starting with, I'm a big fan of you, you're the OG, but. And it just goes to show, if I find it, I will add it so you can read it. He never apologized. He always doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on what he originally said. And for that fact alone, get him out of here.
Counsel brilliant
Get him
idiots.
out of here just as quickly as y'all got Jonathan Majors out of here.
Okay, because what? We'll cancel our own quickly.
Why does he get to stay so long after all of this foolishness?
We're done with brilliant idiots. Charlamagne will still be straight with the Breakfast Club. And he can make another podcast with a black person.
The main problem I'm having with Charlamagne in this moment, because Charlamagne says a lot of things that I don't agree with and a lot of things I do. But what I've always respected about him is in controversial moments, he's always held whatever his opinion is. I refuse to believe that his opinion is that he agrees that you should let white comedians talk about black women just because of how much he loves black women or how much he says he does out of his mouth. I just don't feel that in this moment he did what he always does, like making Drake the donkey of the day and explaining exactly why he is that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So.
If I heard a joke, then I would laugh. I swear.
Because we love to laugh. And we actually pretty well love comedians.
We
do. We love a good stand-up.
Love a kiki.
And if it's funny, it's funny.
We love a kiki moment.
If it's funny, it's funny. And I can say that was funny, but watch your mouth. It wasn't even funny, though.
If I heard a joke, I laugh. Book breaking, because it's beyond now. Beyond, we're talking about book breaking. That takes it back. That gathers up a whole other body of people's struggles. It's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not okay.
No.
And I'm not even challenging all people to know everything about everything, but it does mean, because when it comes to certain topics like the Holocaust, I'm not going to just be out here just talking.
Mm-mm.
I don't have ancestors, as far as I know, that experience that I have. It's not a part of my culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to speak about things I don't know about. I'm not going to make jokes about things I don't know about either. So maybe you don't know what butt breaking is. Maybe you can't really fathom something like that happening to one of your elders because you just lived a life of white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
But also that creates, or it should create, a boundary in your brain to say, I'm not going to joke about these things because you know what? It could be offensive to people that I have business relationships with.
It could be offensive to victims, because if we start at a baseline of he may not have known a thing about butt breaking, but he know what sexual assault is.
Correct.
That junk ain't funny.
It's not funny.
It's not funny.
The same way y'all were willing to get Kevin Hart out of here when he said that his biggest fear was his son being gay. Y'all got Kevin
Hart. That wasn't funny to y'all. A joke wasn't a joke then.
Kevin ended up making a whole documentary on Netflix essentially apologizing for that.
But we will hold everybody in this world accountable except the white man. Everybody got to be accountable except the white man. This man should have apologized.
Kevin made a joke. It offended people. He apologized.
We're willing to freeze out every other person. And black men first.
If you can say that and it's funny, then I can say this and it's funny. Only when I say it, I'm going too far. And that's something that y'all have been doing with Kendrick Lamar this whole time. I just went back when I was editing our last episode, looking at old comments from that time. And I went to every post on the Shade Room from the beat. And on the Not Like Us one, is the one where comments started saying, okay, he's getting obsessed now. Oh, he's doing too much. It's over. Why is it over when he drops the kill shot? It wasn't over when Family Matters dropped by Drake and he did the video and he's talking about Kendrick being a woman beater. But it's over when he says A minor, he says PDF file, and he says you run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. It's the same thing with this Andrew Schultz thing. It's funny because he said it and he's talking about us and it's a joke.
And to your point too about who you got out in our culture between Jonathan Majors and Kevin Hart in this Kevin Hart situation, that was in the last 5 years? We'll say the last 10. We holding them to such a standard that Jonathan Majors got to go to some kind of a rehabilitation center.
Anger or whatever.
In some kind of way. For what he was held responsible for. Kevin Hart feels the need to, because of how how people held him responsible, he had to or felt the need to apologize in a particular type of way. And then the movie that he did after that, I think he was trying to be culturally sensitive.
Who?
Kevin Hart, talking about the line, what movie was that we was watching?
Marky Mark is in it.
Daddy?
Mark Wahlberg is in it.
I think it was on Netflix. Point is, he said a line that I think that he was trying to use to continue to add to the narrative, like, I didn't mean to hurt nobody's feelings.
Correct.
That's the point. And the world ready to go into an uproar about these particular things, but who is crying out for us? Who is crying out for the black man who was just, he is Kendrick Lamar, but he's still a black man who was just dehumanized and it made fun of by this other guy. Nobody holding Andrew Schultz accountable. He don't feel like he owe nobody an apology. Continuing to double down the same way that Drake did, doubling down, just super entitled. And nobody cares. Why are we still crying the same tears, bro? And why do we still give people the room and the privilege? Why do we enable them with that privilege to just treat us however they want to treat us? I'm so over it.
But then Kendrick says something that he's doing too much.
Y'all gotta...
This is literally, and I don't be making the things I say up. I am a person who procrastinates a lot. So when I am working and I take a second off, I get on Twitter. These are the things that people say on Twitter. And it's not people without melanin saying the things. It's us saying that Kendrick's doing too much. It's us saying that he goes too far. It's us saying, oh my goodness, I hope I can find that tweet where somebody said, here's DJ Mustard making another Negro spiritual beat. But that's funny? That's not funny, y'all. It ain't funny to me.
It's disappointing because we don't even realize how we are the products of a whitewashed nation and just leaned in. We just bought in. This is why there was a whole book ban. This is why people don't want us to talk about critical race theory. They want us to remain ignorant to the reality of our story.
And y'all play into it so well.
And you think it don't apply to hip hop? We said this first episode. Music moves people. A lot of folks. Some folks may not pick up a Bible, but they absolutely gonna listen to the latest beats that's dropping, the latest artists that drop. You don't think that applies to hip hop? Of course there's gonna be an attack on hip hop. Of course there's going to be some kind of person, i.e. like Drake, who plays the colonizing role in a place where there are so many sensitive ears. Of course, there are going to be artists like Sexy Red who perpetuate and who even praise a certain lifestyle that keeps us brainwashed and keeps us, to me, and we talked about this a lot, but keeps us at a lower level of respect for ourselves.
Right.
Because don't dare pick up a book. That ain't cute. That's not fun. Don't dare show respect for yourself. Don't dare expect a man to treat you like a human being. Don't dare think about a boundary. Everybody cheats. What are you talking about? This is Sexy Red whispering to some of y'all kids' ears. I'm just saying, people don't want us to know the truth of things so that they can tell us what to think. and tell us what to believe. And then we decide to take that and run with it, which is why instead of saying nothing, even if you don't agree with Kendrick, if you don't like Kendrick's music, I don't care. Why are you speaking out against it though?
And Kendrick said it on Whacked Out Mirrors, and I feel like that's the point where he honestly got fed up with y'all, because what did he say? I can't think of what he said on Whacked Out Mirrors, but on I Deserve It All, Man Under the Garden, he said, writing words trying to elevate these children, man, I deserve it all. And he said several times on that album that he has not done anything in his career but try to speak up for us, and y'all hate it so much, and it just speaks to how whitewashed we are.
Think about the scene at Roots with Kunta Kinte. If I don't break right here, he's going to kill me, and he's going to kill me in front of all these people, and that's going to kill something in them. And so there was a breaking there for the sake of survival. But there were still some ancestors who fought behind the scenes tooth and nail so that we would not forget, so that we would know our story, that we would know that we have worth and value, that we are important, that we deserve to take up space. We have a story worth telling. We have a story worth protecting. They died for that.
In that, you also have...
We blacking now. We're renting now.
You also have the Samuel L. Jackson and the Django's of the world.
You do.
Who existed in that time and exist today.
Yeah.
And those of you who say what the things that we've said have been said about this whole situation, those are I count 6 shots. You said something about music being, music is a carrier. And people are not always going to, especially our people, for some reason, we are so committed to clinging to other things that are not Jesus Christ and are not truth for comfort and for wisdom. And it made me think of a Kendrick clip.
I mean, we all spiritual beings, and that's something I can't ever run from in music. I always felt like God used me as a vessel, whether to show my flaws, whether to show my intellect, to show my pain, to show my hurt, to share his message. You know, I could say the nastiest thing on record, but I still feel like that's a vessel. You need to hear that. I can't sugarcoat the reality of what's going on out here.
It made me think of that clip because that's like a really chopped and screwed version, but he was talking about how, I think the interviewer might have brought up how he just kind of, he loves the Lord, but it's not like he's
what they would call a Christian rapper.
Right. He said lots of F words. And I think it also goes back to his views on balance and there needing to be different things put out into the world. So we do have preachers, we do have Christian artists who put those things out into the world for the people who consume them. But you also have the people from places where he's from, places like where I'm from, who listen to the things that he puts out into the world. And while it might be a little more aggressive in nature, there is some truth there that you might need to hear. And so everything is not meant to, I said it on our last podcast, one of my favorite songs is Dance Like a Stripper. I love that song. But there is balance in my psyche. Like there's balance here. I love that song. I will turn up to it all day. I love 2 Chainz. I love Amigos. I love certain songs by Future. I love Young Thug. But I am a person who enjoys very much sitting down and listening to what Kendrick has to say. Because he is always saying something. And it's not enough people saying something. If people like Nas came out with an album a couple years ago, but if people like him were making music consistently, people with messages outside of what happens in the club,
outside of what happens in a bedroom. If more people were making music, I promise you I wouldn't. And it's like, I don't know, because people say that Kendrick fans are just so, it's probably how I view Drake fans, but Kendrick fans are such diehards because it's really only one him. And there should be more. But he really does. He says something every time he speaks, no matter how harsh or aggressive it is. If you listen to the words, he has something to say. My shooter only know a couple songs by Kendrick, but even the ones she know, if she do a lyric breakdown, they carry a message. It's one.
And I appreciate that because it's balanced there. It's the Young Thugs of the world. It's the Kendricks of the world. I showed a clip in our last episode that Kendrick was talking about how he loves the radio record. But there has to be a balance in the industry. And because he is a person in the industry, he chooses to make the music that balances it. He don't need to make the club records because it's enough. It's enough club records. It's not enough of the other kind. But that's why y'all call him boring, because he the only one doing something different.
But you don't want to listen.
And not the only one. Let me not say that, because we getting into other people.
Right. Shout
Maybe
out
for
Joey
our
Bad. We're
second-
fans. Just want you to know that.
It
Joey
might
Bad,
end up
we
being
love
for
you.
the next episode.
Yeah,
though.
because this one giving about a good hour or two. First, I had one thing to say. Listening to a podcast. I'm a with the Perry Stan person, and not because I feel like I need to say this. I'm not a person who just hop on bandwagons. I don't like them because I think they're hot. And I think even beyond me saying that I think saying I like them is a little bit basic. It's beyond that. I know for a fact that what they teach as far as the Bible goes is tried and true, because I read my Bible too. So I respect them. And I don't let everybody in my head. So,
I just want to say this real quick. Just to balance it, just because I know everybody who comes to this podcast, because our first 3 episodes are very hip-hop based, I feel like everybody who comes to the podcast is not going to be the most Jesus Christ repping people. But to kind of bring that into even a more worldly perspective, Shootas loving the Perrys is because she listened to the things they say. She's tried them by the word, and she recognizes the truth in what they speak. People who listen to me speak about Kendrick, I feel like a lot of people will write me off as she's just like a stan. But it's like, but why are you a fan? Because the people I'm fans of, I have reasons. I have reasons for liking people. Even Beyonce. Why do I like her? I appreciate her work ethic and what she puts on the table every time she performs. It's unmatchable, and I respect it every time. She always gonna give you your money's worth. Kendrick, there are reasons why I love him as much as I do. It didn't just come out of thin air. He has always, when we lived in Athens, and he came out with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I don't even know if you remember, but I had been itching to get in the car to listen to the album. And me and my brother talking on the phone, me and my nephew talking on the phone, because every time he drops, you have to understand it. And it took me a long time to listen to it, because I will never listen to his album when I don't have time.
Right.
And I'll never do that, because there's always something to hear. And with other people, you can just kind of listen to it. Saying that to say,
it's just a song.
Shootas enjoys the Perrys because they speak with substance and they speak truth. Just relating that to
balance.
Our bias on this podcast is because of the substance that lies within the people we speak about.
That's good.
Yeah.
That was lit. Y'all like how I did it. Bird. So one thing I was going to say about the podcast was they were talking about Jesus meeting the Samaritan woman at the well, and there being like an element of drawing her to himself within their conversation. She didn't have the capacity to bite off everything that he was in sentence 1. So he led with, I'm the Messiah. She'd have been like, oh.
Yeah.
But within their conversation, there were gems. And after a while, she like, I could see her like this, like, huh? Who? What? Who are you? Give me some of that water you talking about. And by that time, he's able to reveal himself specifically. But they were talking about the element of drawing. And more or less, it kind of was like, to me, like planting seeds. There are people, like I said, who may not ever start at With the Perrys. I feel like that's a podcast for believers. And some people who ain't believers have gone on there, listened, and gotten involved, and then come to become believers. And that's fine. But as a person being disciple, it's good for me. I feel like I grow a lot as a Christian already from listening to their podcast. But Kendrick may just be speaking to people who only know street life, who only know the struggles of what it is like to grow up in Compton, or who only know the struggles of what it's like to grow up in Vidalia. That's where I'm from, Albany.
Let's all remember that Kendrick, Schoolboy Q, all of them speak about how their initial goal was to get the city of Compton to hear them. They never saw past that in the beginning. So of course that's who they're speaking to.
People that they need to speak life into these people before they lose their lives. I respect what he is doing, because I feel like what he is doing is drawing. He's drawing. He ain't trying to be God. The Lord will do whatever he want to do with his own kids once they become saved. Once they become in a place where they are in surrender to him. He will elevate their relationship with him. But with what Kendrick has, he is using it and working it to the glory of God. To me, I believe that, to the glory of God. And also, he is speaking to brokenhearted people for a very specific struggle, a very specific pain. And that is one that we as Black people relate to. Period. I don't care where you from. I'm not from the hood of Vidalia. I'm not from there. But I hurt with them people. I hurt with the ones in Compton. the more that I learn and listen, I'm sensitive to it because it's a Black people's struggle. And it wouldn't matter if I was caught on the streets of Compton on a bad day. And I'm not trying to speak to whatever goes on over there because I don't know everything in every detail. But I'm just saying it would affect me. The same metaphor I was using earlier. If I wasn't from America, but I'm melanated and I come over here and it's the middle of the civil rights movement, I'm getting hosed or getting the dog sent on me just as well whether I know what's going on or not because it's our struggle. Period. I can't afford to be ignorant. I can't afford not to know. And I definitely can't afford not to care. That's dumb. Respect what he's doing, number one. And the one line from Man at the Garden that I love how this builds at the end. And when we listen to it in the car, we both be just like stopping and like
listen to it in the car.
But Kendrick is turned at this point. And he like, how annoying does it anger me to know the lames can speak on the origins of the game I breathe? Mm-hmm. That's insane to me. It's important. I deserve it all because it's mine. Tell me why you think you deserve the greatest of all time. This ain't your game. Drake even made a comment. No, it wasn't Drake that made a comment. I think it was that man on that podcast with Jeremy.
Hey,
the other man that used to be
the black
Team
one
Drake.
or the light skin one?
Light skin one.
Elliot Wilson.
I think it was him who was saying something about teaching Kendrick the game to Drake in that interview that we watched. Where
oh yes, it's an old interview.
We talked about this episode 1.
We did the one where Drake gave his opinion on the control verse.
And this dude is like such and such and such. You taught him the game. And I wanted to smack him right then. Because what game? How can he teach me something he ain't create?
He can't teach me anything about a game I breathe.
He can't teach me nothing about a game I breathe.
He brought me into different rooms and sat me at different tables.
It's like the audacity of you, my guy. But again, if we don't start letting folks sit with us or think that they can, they're going to continue to think in an entitled way like they did something for somebody. When you ain't been through the stuff our culture, our ancestors have been through. You ain't carrying the weight that we still carry. Be quiet. This ain't your game.
Jay-Z got a song. You were saying that you
when
are
I'm
not
from here, there, wherever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Light, dark, working in the house, working in the field. Middle class, lower class, high class. At the end of the day, on the wrong or right day on a traffic stop, you are still a Black American. What's the name of that song? O.J. Simpson, I think, because O.J. Simpson was the one that said he wasn't Black, he was O.J.
Wow.
And what did Jay-Z say in that song? I'm not Black, I'm O.J. Okay.
Clown.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I feel about that.
A clown. Yeah, we got riled up this episode.
Yeah, this about to be over. This is what I wanted to talk about earlier. I think we was talking right in words, trying to elevate these children. I deserve it all. I was saying on this album, Kendrick was fed up with us, with y'all, not with me. Saying that
the culture.
Y'all just try to, I don't know why people be on him so bad because he's never done anything but try to uplift us and make our culture known in rooms that we never dreamed of. That's literally all he tried to do. Mm-hmm. And he say, I pay homage and I always mind my business. I never lost who I am for a rap image. It's motivation if you wonder why I did it. He said something else about paying homage, but he has always paid homage to the people who came before him. He's just always been a
humble beast.
Humble, respectful beast.
Shout out to Humble Beast brand. It's Black owned. One of my brother's friends from college created it, athletic wear. Humble Beast definitely fits Kendrick Lamar. We put a little link in the bio. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's just always spoken up for us, and nobody can say he hasn't. I mean, nobody can say he hasn't. And that's another thing he said during the rap battle. All of Drake's returns came back empty because Drake was trying to find dirt on him for the beef. He couldn't find nothing. I live a boring life. I like peace. He do his music, and in that music, he try to uplift Black people, and other than that, you can't find no dirt. You got to make it up.
And even that is remarkable. When people get power, the power that comes from having money and influence, they wild out all the time. We see it happening all the time. The image of a Black man with wealth and power that white people would be comfortable with, it would be the character, the Black man who is flashy, the Black man who does not value family, who does not respect women. It is that Black man who they would be okay with the culture accepting, not the one who keep it cute and quiet, not the one who's married with kids by the same woman. That's not the image that they want to portray, and definitely not the one who make us woke to this game, who make us woke to this struggle.
Speaking to that exact point,
mm-hmm.
There's a Black man going viral on TikTok Why is he going viral? Because he has made the statement that black men can't relate to Kendrick.
Oh my
Black
goodness.
men relate to Drake. How are black men, how we gonna relate to a man who been with the same woman for 10 years? What can you teach us about women? Insert clip here.
You're trying to make songs for the ladies. You're trying to make songs for the woman. And I get that. But a lot of artists can't do that because you don't got the recipe. Drake got the recipe for that shit. I'm not going to get on the song and say, you dealing with niggas that's thinking they cuter than you. No, I ain't finna talk to you. And I'm relatable. I'm relatable to a lot of men that deal with women. I can't relate to Kendrick, especially on the women's side. What you going to tell me about a woman when you been with the same woman, which is beautiful, but you still haven't married her. But you been with the same woman for over 15 years and haven't married her. And her depressed ass keep shaving her hair and sending out long ass paragraphs on Instagram without a picture in sight of you.
Wow. Y'all, that's insulting. That should piss somebody off. That should piss off every black man. And that should piss off every black woman who with a black man. Who is a mother of a black man, a sister to, a daughter of, and all the things in between.
But that's essentially what he was saying. He was saying, how in the world? And then he,
shout out to my daddy.
And mine. Amazing.
Shout out to Papa. My mom and dad have been married for 30 plus years, baby. I'm just saying. Like, and y'all, how long?
How old is my brother?
35, 36, 37?
No. Jay was born in 89.
36.
So Jay's 36. They've been married 37 years. They got married a year before he was born. I mean, he also ends up including, he be cheating on her with white women. And he, basically all the stuff.
Drake say, the point is.
And that's a black man with lots of melanin. He wasn't light skinned.
It's problematic, and we finna wrap this one up. But it's problematic that that's what this man is saying. How can we relate to him? Even if you can't relate to him, you may not be used to seeing that. You can aspire to reach that level of monogamy where you find contentment in one woman, in the home, and the family that y'all built. It should not be perpetuated, accepted, and almost praised, idolized, to be spread from woman to woman, having seed in different places in the world. That don't have to be the standard. It's kind of sad that that's where we at. But again, I feel like this is the way that not just the white man, the enemy, would like for black people to live and exist.
So that's what we thought. Maybe this episode came off as more of a rant. We did not get to
anything on the notes.
We didn't get to everything on our list today, but I feel like what we said today needed to be said. Honestly, maybe the theme is forever and consistently broke, because some things just need to be broken forever and consistently. They need to be put out there into the world for you to hear whenever it's time for you to hear it. And that's what we're here for.
All things.
Speaking up for all things lit.
On me.
Calling Jimmy John's got them shooters on deliver.